Hey, Dragon Slaves. So today's video is about my current diet and why I've modified it. So as long as you know, if you've been following the channel, I tried the PE diet for a while. And slowly over time, I began progressively adding more and more fat back into my diet. So my diet today is somewhere between a PE type diet and a simple prioritizing protein diet. For any viewer who has not been following me and isn't aware of what the PE diet is, allow me to recap. Essentially, the PE diet says that when you look at any food that you're considering eating, you want to take the amount of protein in grams and divide it by the sum of the number of carbs in grams plus the number of fat in grams. And that will give you a ratio. So long as that ratio is above 1.0, it's a great food to eat. So the diet is essentially a mostly protein diet. So speaking of diets, I've tried many diets. So allow me to recap some of those. About 3.5-ish years ago, when I first started down my journey, almost 4 years ago now, it's been like 3 years and like I think 10 months. Yeah, because it was December of 2018 when I started. We're now almost to December of 2022. Began keto, and mostly everyone is familiar with keto. It's a high fat, low carbohydrate diet. And I did strict keto for over 120 days. I mean, I literally had zero carbs or as close to zero carbs for basically 120 days straight. And I didn't lose any weight, so I was super disappointed. My blood sugar was phenomenal. It was great, but I didn't lose any weight. So then, after about a year-ish of just being mostly keto and slash low carb in general, I ended up going to a carnivore diet. So I was super excited to try it. I ate pure carnivore for maybe a month or so, and I enjoyed it. So at first, I had bowel issues, but then it did straighten out over time. After about a week-ish of doing it, no more constipation, no more difficulty using the restroom. But the second I had anything that wasn't carnivore, it was bad. It was like I had to start all over again. So I could do hardcore carnivore for 10 days or so. And then if I ate anything that wasn't purely carnivore, it was almost like I had reset my gut. And so the constipation would come back and it would last for another 3 or 4 days and be really uncomfortable. So that's the thing that I didn't like about it. Because in general, I love food. And some people can say, oh, well, just don't cheat. That's not really an option for me. I mean, I can do well most of the time. And I define most of the time about 80%. I used to eat out 5 to 6 days a week. Now I pretty much only eat out one day a week and sometimes twice, but generally about once a week. So Monday through Friday, I typically eat at home. And then Saturday or Sunday, I will eat out once. Sometimes I'll eat out maybe Friday night and Sunday, or Friday night and Saturday night. But it's almost never that I eat out more than twice per week. And so I think that's a much healthier lifestyle in general. Well, then this brings me to the PE diet, which I've done a whole series on in my channel, and I still support it. I think the PE diet is effective and is great. However, I do like to eat carbs some of the time. I don't need carbs every day, right? Like, it's nice to eat carbs probably about once a week. And I'll generally be under 50 grams of carbs most days, easily, probably under 20 grams the vast majority of days. But again, on the weekend, maybe once or twice, I do like to up my carbs a little more because I just want to eat that thing. I just want to eat some potatoes or whatever that thing is, or a little bit of chocolate, or maybe even like a scoop or two of ice cream. So my this is where I am in my journey, and this is what I choose to do. So I used to be a lot more hardcore and a lot more militant when my blood sugar was 323. But now that my blood sugar is, it's averaging under 113, after 2 hours of eating, it's usually under 100. After maybe 12 to 14 hours of fasting, it's in the 70s. I'm in a much better place. I still have more work to do, but I don't feel like I need to be as militant or as hardcore as I used to be to reach my final goal or my final destination. So I've kind of eased off the throttle a little bit. So what I've learned over all this time is that humans are basically omnivores, and there are bit different benefits to eating meat and eating plants, and you really should have both in your diet. I think that low carb in general is great, and I plan to eat low carb for the rest of my life. I think within a week I will probably average less than 50 grams of carbs a day. I think that's a good, healthy thing that most people should stick to. Some people can get away with eating 100 grams of carbs. Some people might be able to get away with even more. You just want to make sure you're not getting crazy blood sugar spikes no matter how many carbs you choose to eat. And no matter how you choose to eat, the one thing that everyone can agree on is that processed foods are bad for you and you should avoid them as much as possible. You should eat as little processed food as possible. So I encourage everyone to, you know, as Dr. Beekman says, to prioritize protein, to control carbohydrates, and to fill with fat. I think this is a great paradigm. If PE works for you, awesome. Follow the same paradigm. If you're more of a keto person and it works for you, follow the same paradigm. If you're vegetarian or vegan, I don't recommend those diets, but if that's what you choose to do, I would still prioritize protein. I think that protein is the number one macronutrient, and you want to have good, whole, healthy, unprocessed sources of protein. I think that if everyone could aim to eat out no more than really maybe 3 times a week at the most, and by times I mean meals, I think that 95% of your meals should be cooked at home, and that is the general diet that I'm following right now. Prioritizing protein, cooking 95% of my meals at home or more, and not eating processed foods or minimizing the amount of processed foods that I eat to as close to zero as possible. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. And remember, guys, that together, you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon.